Hello, YouTube. How are you all today? I hope folks are fine. I got my glasses on today. Um, I'm putting on a little music here. This is a new thing I'm doing. First of all, welcome. My name is Minister Dr. Kalakamaat, and this is the Weekend Wrap. Okay. Um, yeah, I guess always got to add something to the plate here, right? I'm going to check to make sure that I'm on and that it's coming out okay. Let me see. Yep, I'm looking all right. So I hope everybody's having a good week. For those of you who have finished your week, I hope that you are feeling happy. Yeah, I meant to put on my little intro, but sometimes I forget to do these things, right? So, love lights. Ashe, welcome all. We're still in the Ascension. This is, like I said, called the Weekend Wrap, and we're gonna sum up, end up the week. Okay, we're gonna end the week um, in some sort of summary, integrative way. Like I said, this is new, and we'll just see um, how it all plays out. Um, Give me a second here. We'll see how it all plays out, how it works, because this is trial and error, my friends. It is. We just do and we see what works and what feels right. So I ask you, if you are enjoying the information on this channel, if you like what I'm doing, you find it helpful, and you think other people may be able to benefit, please hit like, subscribe, and hit notifications first for you so you can, be up on when videos are dropping, what's happening. Um, and two, so that other people can participate in accessing this information in the algorithms, okay? And again, I just want to say thank you for helping me hit 100 subscribers. Let's just keep it going. Hence the reason why I'm adding to the repertoire of offerings that we have on Power Profit TV. Okay, so thank you so much for being here. I like the Weekend Wrap ticker tape. So I don't think this is going to be long-winded, my friends, but I just want to come on and it's not as scripted. I don't like write everything out for the Weekend Wrap. That was weird. You see that distortion that was just there? But I will be doing this every Friday, I believe, until I'm told to do otherwise. Okay. So look, welcome again. This is where you and I get to sit down at the end of the week, catch our breaths, and tie a bow on everything we walk through together. So it doesn't stay in 4 separate live stream. It becomes one thing. And I hope that you have the opportunity to carry this into your week, right? Um, you know, these live streams, they take a lot of work to prepare. And I do enjoy this work. But I found myself on Thursdays and like Friday and then the weekend feeling like I needed to do one more thing to bring everything together. And that's what this conversation is about today, just really pulling it together. And what a week this has been, truly. I mean, for me, this was a really great, they're all awesome. Each 9 bodies of light, the path. You want to see the path, it's on power-profit.com / the path. But the shadow self is really something that it gets my passion. All of it gets my passion, but this is just like one of those things that's just exciting to talk about, because so many people feel like it's something they have to hide, that they have to wrestle down, wrangle with, fix. And I'm just so sick of everything being about fixing us. Um, there's nothing wrong with us, right? There's nothing wrong with you. It's just about how we perceive these things. In Western society, everything is a problem for which we need an intervention, you know? And so much of this stuff just comes from inside of us, right? So much of what we need to do emanates within us, but they take that sovereignty away by making everything so easy to get, to outsource everything about ourselves, even our shadow self, right? It's not seen as sacred. It's seen as something to do and fix, in a way. And this week, we did the fifth body of light, the shoot, SHUT, the shadow. Body 5 out of the 9, my friends, at the gate of Ba. And if you're following what I do, in my power of release framework, recognize, release, and reframe. The gate of Ka is recognition. We did that when we talked about, partly about the bloodline, right? Our ancestors. We talked about our soul, our personality, those things. The gate of Ba is the gate of release, right? It's the gate of release. And embracing, right, the thing that you felt was painful in your life, your shadow, right? Embracing it, honoring it as sacred. That's a release, instead of looking at it as being something that has to be dealt with, right? And then the gate of Ak is the reframe, because once we walk through all this stuff, we have to figure out how we shine. The reframing is the shine. The Ak is the shine. It's how we are going to do our daily hygiene, right? But the gate of Ba is all about the release. And so, the reason why this weekend wrap is so important, because it's sort of like underscoring, what it is about this work, that it ultimately does, right? So the gate of Ba is about release, releasing the patterns, releasing the grief, right? Not releasing the grief and hiding it and getting rid of it, because our shadow holds it, right? But just releasing the idea that it's something, again, we have to wrestle with and put down, instead of embracing it and letting it be the way it wants to be, and understanding that being is beautiful, right? It's all us. It's all a part of us. It's who we are. It's what we do. And there's so much shame and guilt and boxing ourselves in. I mean, we put more boundaries on ourselves than we do on people in our life. That's insane. But it makes sense to me, living in Western society. And, so look, this week we did the shoot. If you missed a day, you're at the right place and time right here and now, because we're going to just, I'm summarizing what we did this week. And I just want to let you, give to you what it may mean for you at the end of the day, instead of leaving folks hanging like, okay, we did those 3 days. Now what? I mean, that's how I would be. So, if we want to think about what was the main thing, the main message that sort of came through this week, like the single thread that ran through the week, that we can hold on to, it's something like this. The world taught you to fear your own shadow, but your shadow was never your enemy. It is sacred, and it carries everything you need, right? It has been carrying, and it is carrying, and it will continue to carry everything that you need. And so that is the week. In that one single sentence, I'll say it again. The world taught you to fear your own shadow, but your shadow was never your enemy. It is sacred, and it has been and is carrying everything you need. That's critical. That's a big release. My shadow's not my enemy. That makes me feel good, right? I hope it does the same for you. And so, like I said, that's the week in a nutshell. And everything else is just how we got to that main sentence. You know, they taught you to fear part of you that's been holding your fire, your passion, right? And so, what I want to do is just walk a little bit through each of the 4 days. And for each one, I want to share with you what it was and then what it actually does for you. Because at the end of the day, I know people don't come here just to see me. Um, they want stuff that's going to help them feel better, be better, do better. That's what we all should be aspiring to, especially in this day and age when everything is really challenging. Our peace, our joy, our happiness, our ability to just walk freely in a liberated sense, even if we aren't totally free. You know, right now it just seems like for many folks they're just being crushed, right? And so I want something to make me better. I want to be better, and I want to do better. And maybe some of that better may extend out into the world, right? Because it's so hard to give when you can't even give to yourself. It's so hard to give when you can't recognize that you need to give to yourself. All right. And so, and that's also part of the hidden self that we talked about on Monday, right? You know, that was a general, gentle introduction into the shadow self. I mean, I talked about Carl Jung, who came up with this concept. The part of yourself you were taught to hide so that no one walked, you know, into this week without having some sort of grounding what we're going to talk about. So that's what Monday was, just sort of putting the ground down and looking at how it's usually discussed, you know, in psychology and generally in spiritual terms, because the shadow self is a big deal. People are always talking about their shadow selves, again, as something to wrestle with and to figure out, as opposed to embracing and integrating, right? That shadow alchemy, that integration, and not bypassing it or believing it's too much trouble to deal with, and so you just keep on keeping on with half of you, half of who you are. That's pretty intense, right? Half, because you're hiding the rest. And so Monday, I just wanted to get out sort of that general understanding and what it does for you, or what it did. What I hope is it opened the door, and it hopefully took some of the shame off the table, so you can meet your shadow as a student of self, and not feeling victim to the shadow. And you know, and then we continued that work with the Tuesday commentary. You know, I started that out talking about what was happening in the Haitian community, which is just intensely disturbing, right? I mean, it's like the false shadow is something the world projects onto us. And that's what I was doing in that commentary, just really extrapolating the idea of the shadow and making it relevant to the world in which we live. You know, we looked honestly at the false shadow the world projects onto us, onto individuals. And the darkness, you know, it cannot face it in itself. We were talking about, you know, this whole idea of white supremacy, Caucasian hatred, Caucasian woefulness, Caucasian soullessness. You know, there's a monster in there, right? That they can't see or face in themselves. And they have been so socially manipulated to believe that there is no shadow, right? That they're absolved, that they are right, absolutely correct. And that in of itself is monstrous because there is no absolute anything anywhere. There is no absolute. But their monster, they hang it on us. They hang it on Haitians. They hang it on Kim folks, and they call it our character. You know, they started out by talking about how Haitians were eating cats and dogs. Like, just savage. But I only see one group of people who are being savage. Everybody else trying to figure out how to get through this craziness intact with an intact society, right? And for us spiritual teachers, I mean, it's like playing hopscotch. When do we land in the reality of society and talk about what's really going on? Well, for me, you know, that's something I do weekly because it's important to bring these concepts into the real world. I mean, religion does it all the time to make us feel bad about not being good. But my goal is not to make you feel bad about not being good. My goal is to just remove the taint, right? You are not tainted. Remove the stink that they want to put all over us to spray. You know, how animals like to spray their territory. You know, Kim folks being sprayed on with these monstrosity shadows of people who are just lost and confused about their own humanity, right? And so, yeah, the cats and dogs are eating cats and dogs like they're wild savages in the woods or in the jungle, you know, and now they got to wear ankle monitors. This poor man came out of the court building with the monitor on and just collapsed in tears. And then we traced it back 500 years because none of this is new. It's a continuation of the same old treatment of Kim people. When I say Kim, I mean Black folks. It just never ends. And what that does for you, me even talking about this stuff, it hands you the power to tell the difference between the shadow that was assigned to you by some other entities and the one that is truly yours, so that you can finally set down a darkness you were never meant to carry, right? The release. And as I have said throughout this week, for many people, there's not even an understanding of what they are carrying and a belief that they're not carrying any of the taint. I don't know if that's the right word, but it sounds really gross. But we have to discern between the shadow the world hands us and then what is truly ours. Because the shadow the world hands us, as I was talking about on Tuesday, can be extremely destructive to the individual. Forget the shadow self that's theirs, but just turn them into something they don't even recognize in themselves. And that could be for somebody who's making a ton of money, as well as somebody who is being in survival mode. Well, everybody could be in survival mode. Somebody with a ton of money and somebody without a ton of money, right? You can still be in a shadow in both modalities and not even understanding your own power in your shadow because you're so overcome by that. And so Wednesday, it was important for me, you know, to really look at the shoot, the shadow, the sacred shoot, because our shadow self is sacred. It's not something to be wrestled around with and thrown away and pushed down and hid, right? It is not a threat. It is a bearer. It's a bearer. And it has been holding and is holding in the dark your protection, your power, your buried griefs, your gifts, and your ancestral memory. And what that does and what it does for you, it ends the shame. So if we can remove the shadow the world gives us, focus on our sacred shadow self, right? There's so many layers to this. The protection, the power, the gifts, the grief, the ancestral memory that ends the shame that many folks carry around because of things telling them they're not worthy, or and them believing that tale, like believing it's true that they are not worthy, whether or not they consciously think I'm not worthy or not. Being not worthy will come out in various ways. Self-sabotage, you know, insanity, doing the same thing, expecting different results, but you're never checking or reflecting on yourself. So unworthiness to live a life of abundance, um, and present and forward mobility, like being present and then a forward mobility, right? So Wednesday, talking about the shoot, it's about stop running from your own depth. Nobody wants to get deep. But that's what the shoot is about. The sacred shadow self, the sacred shadow. Stop running from your own depth. Because you understand that nothing you buried to survive is lost. It's always there. It's being kept for you. And this society will keep you spinning your wheels day and night so you don't even stop for a minute to do shadow alchemy, to figure out who you really are. It'll keep you just that busy. And that's part of the world's shadow on you. And then, of course, Thursday, I taught the practice. How do we do shadow alchemy, right? The goal was in that practice, teaching that practice, is how to actually go and receive it. And of course, this is not a one-time thing. The practice is something that needs to happen on a daily basis. If it's not daily, there needs to be time during the week to do this work. Step by step, I taught you, right? Ground yourself, turn toward your shadow, honor it, let the grief move, receive what it carries, and bring it home. And I'm looking and I'm stopping because I'm having this commentary that people just don't want to do the work. Or they want the work that everybody else is doing. They want to jump on the bandwagons. They want to pay the thousands, 10,000s, 20,000s of dollars, believing that if they pay that much, then they're getting the good work, right? The good work is the work that comes from in here. Not the work that somebody gives you a class and a course for. Yes, that helps. But I got to tell you, I've come across many, many clients in my time who paid thousands and thousands of dollars. I mean, astronomically high prices over and over again, and still feeling like they're broken because it comes from in here. It's not somebody's program. It's what's in here. And so what the practice did is the teaching of it put it in your hands, puts the real practice in your hands. It gives you the power. So it stops being a beautiful idea that's got pretty packaging, right? Cool course, videos and all this stuff. Oh, that's wonderful. But it stops being a beautiful idea or a beautifully packaged thing, right? And it becomes something you can do. Not see as a trophy or I got the best, but something that you can do anytime you're ready to take your power back, your voice and your fire. And the shoot guide is on the website. power-profit.com/resources. So in this section called practice guides, all this stuff is free. And the shadow is such an integral part of who we are. That this is the main work that I would say somebody needs to sit in. Right? So this is the work we need to do, again, to take your power back, your voice, and your fire. I don't know how many people I've met who lost their passion, their motivation, just that thing, their mojo. That was my thing. I lost my mojo. I got to get my mojo back. I don't even utter those words anymore because they just sound crazy. My mojo has never left. I may have placed it aside for a minute, but my shadow got that, right? And then I also talked about in practicing, give your shadow a name. My shadow has a name because when I'm talking to my shadow, I need to personify, visualize it. And people get all weird, like that sounds crazy. Who cares? That's the whole thing about everything I do. Who cares? In the private space of your home, in your time, you healing you. Who cares what you sound like? As long as you ain't hurting somebody, hurting yourself, who cares? Like I say, do you, boo? But it's so hard for people to do that. To just be free. Even in the privacy, they're censoring themselves. Of their own home, they're censoring themselves. Thinking about what is acceptable and what isn't. I ain't talking about go totally out of your mind, although sometimes that may help too. But this is as long as you ain't hurting somebody or you're not hurting yourself. You're not engaged in criminal behavior. Let me tell you, you got to do what you got to do to be the best version of you that you can be. Because there's nothing going to go right in your life if you're not the best version of you. Or you'll just get mediocre or mediocrity, right? The best version of you means you have the best version of this reality that you can get and of the process. So in line with that one sentence that sums up the week, if you want to, take one thing out of the whole week this week, let it be this. You are becoming someone who is no longer at war with themselves. I'm going to say it again. To sum up this week, you are becoming someone who is no longer at war with themselves. That's critically important. I'm going to say it one more time. You are becoming someone who is no longer at war with themselves. I mean, for most of your life, you were told that being good means being all light, right? Happy, right? Cutting off the parts that were too much. Because being all light means, first of all, you got to define being all light. Who's light? Light. Who's light? What type of light? Right? These are the critical thought questions you pose to it. But being all light could mean cutting off the parts of you that were too much, too dark, too angry, too tender, too angry, too smartass, too sarcastic, too bodacious. And that left you split, right? And tired, exhausted, right? Because you're only half there, right? You're only half there. And then you wonder what's wrong, what happened. This week, you learned that wholeness, 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 was never, ever about getting rid of the inconvenient parts of you. Please. Not at all. It's about going back for them. It's about getting them. It's about going in that basement that you made for the shadow self, pulling that shadow self out, getting those pieces back. You are not here to be all light, my friend. You have no idea how many times people told me to smile. Well, I was an entertainer, so I had to smile a lot. But when I didn't have to smile, when I left that profession and went into another one, I didn't have to be on all the time. But then even in those walls, I had somebody tell me, smile. I'm like, what? Like a Cheshire cat? You're not here to be all light. You're here to be whole. Whole. And whole means you walk with your shadow, not against it. So whoever that makes feel uncomfortable, let them know. You don't have to be rude or mean. Just say, I'm sorry I can't smile continuously. I can't be happy every second of the day because I am a quote unquote normally function human being who has normal ebbs and flows. The operative question is my product or my performance problematic? Because if that's all stellar, you got to be all light all the time? I don't think so. But there are certain people in this society who demand that you comfort them as opposed to you just being yourself. They have to feel comfortable. They're censoring the way in which they perceive you. So this is it. It's like a layered vision. It's like they have to censor you, right? Because they're perceiving you through the perceptions of others. So it's you, them, and others. And so not only are you expected to perform for that person's comfort, but they expect you to perform for the comfort of everybody else. That's some crazy, crazy, crazy stuff. You could be pleasant when you need to be. But like I say, step in infection, 24 hours. Well, as long as we work a lot, but doing that all day long just to make somebody else happy is really going to exhaust you and make you feel foolish after a while, because there's no way somebody could be happy in that, doing that all the time, particularly when you're at work or wherever you go during the day and somebody wants you to put something on your face that may not reflect where you're at in that moment in time. Now, if you choose to do it, that's your thing. Because we're all adults. We know how to behave. But somebody telling you to be late? Whenever they want you to be late? They're telling you that's a problem? Because other people perceive you as being mean or something? That sounds like personal problems on those other people's sides. I mean, maybe, I'm not saying don't adjust, but if you do adjust, just make sure that's your choice. That's your shadow's choice. That's you and your shadow's choice. Not somebody making you jump through some hoops for their comfort and others, right? So look, here's your invitation for the weekend. Something small, something you can actually do between now and Monday, all right? This weekend, watch for the moment a shadow feeling arises, right? A flash of anger, a stab of envy, a wave of grief you would normally push down. And when it comes, instead of exiling it, all right, this is got to be mindful here. Instead of exiling it, pause. Take a pause. Put your hand on your heart and ask yourself one question. What are you carrying from me? And you might just get a message. I'm not talking about an audible message, although that's possible. But you might get a sense, right? Take the message it gives you in whatever form it does. And if it's too heavy, stop. But if it's something that's letting you know to let the shame go, let the shame go. And if it's something that you understand could be more, then write it down. Get the shoot guide, right? Write it down. Start doing the work. That's your task between now and Monday. Don't say I'm a bad person. I did it again. I suck. No. The moment a shadow feeling arises, instead of doing all that crazy stuff, put your hand on your heart and ask it one question. What are you carrying for me? And listen for the answer. And whatever it gives you, write it down. And thank your shadow for the insight. Okay? And like I said, if you want to write it out, get the shoot practice guide and keep it by you at power-profit.com under resources, my friends. There's a daily ritual card in there and the shadow letter that you write. So the practice can walk with you all weekend long. All right. So now, where are we headed? Okay. This week was the ordeal. And I'll be honest with you, it is the hardest part of the whole path in the gate of Ba. But we just walked it. You just walked it. So take a breath because it gets a little lighter from here. And I'm really excited too. I'm excited about the whole Ascension series, to tell you the truth. Because next week we complete the gate of Ba with the sixth body of light, the Ba, your eternal soul in flight, my friends. After a week in the dark, we learn to fly, my friends. So, 2 ways you can keep walking with us. All right. Especially if you want to do some more work in community or with some guidance from myself, is, of course, the temple. I always put this up so you can see it. The temple, the Ascension community. Okay. The Ascension community. You know, it is a real community. It's growing. It's small. It's $44 a month. You get a 7-day free trial, and you can quit after that, or, you know, monthly subscription just comes out $44, and you're in community. You got resources galore. You got access to me. It's not exorbitant fee, right? If you want to pay for the year, you can, but you just have access to live streams, special teachings, live events, virtual events, invitations to real events, right? Circles, meditation circle. I mean, just so much. And yes, working on the shoot practice guide together. Yeah. And once you come into the temple, you get the whole Ascension companion practice guide, right? It has all of the Ascension practice guides in one, right? That's in the temple. Okay. Because soon, like my book, Out of Darkness, that's coming out at winter solstice, and that will have all of the Ascension practice guides in it, but it'll be a little bit more than free, right? So get them while you can, right? And so that's the QR code to reach to the temple. Also, if you really want to know where you're at in the path, get a 9-body reading, right? It's $222 for about 50 minutes to a 60-minute read. And I go through all of the 9 bodies of light. We figure out where you're strong and where and what needs to be built up. It's a great read. And it aligns specifically also with the practice guides. So, you know, this is one of the really important sort of mapping reads that go along with the Ascension, and that helps provide a great deal of insight into your walk, into your spirituality, into your connection with your ancestors, your connection with yourself, right? I do the reading. And it is virtual unless you live close to me in Atlantic City, then it could be in person. But the 9 body reading. And then once we figure out the map, there's also the chamber read, which means that we look at what needs to be built up and what is, where your strengths are. And if you want to focus on one area, which I always recommend to all of my clients, then we could do a chamber read. We focus only on that chamber, on that body of light. So if it's the Ba, Shoot, the Ka, the Ren, then we focus on that wherever you would like to focus, to begin to walk that path toward restoration and reclamation, right? So that's the 9-body reading there, okay? And I think that's basically, what I have to continue this walk together, right? So, let me leave you with this, because this is not a long live stream. I just wanted to come on, do a sum up. So let me leave you with this, okay? You came into this week possibly afraid of your own shadow, right? I'm not going to make any assumptions here. You are leaving this week knowing that the shadow was sacred, unlike what most of Western ideas of the shadow posit, right? Your shadow is sacred. And that it is guarding you and carrying your fire, this whole time. While you've been pushing it down, it's been your fire, right? And that you have a way now to turn and take back everything they told you to bury. You have a framework. Of course, this takes work, but you have resources now to turn around and take that shadow back and do some shadow alchemy and get that fire burning strong again within you so you can live the life that you have thought and dreamt about, but that's never going to happen, right? Doesn't mean superstar life, although that's there too. Becoming a billionaire, that could be there too. But I'm just saying a wholeness to your life, a wholeness, a completeness within you. It's not always about I want this business. Tell me how to use this to get a business. Tell me how to use this to get finances. Tell me how. Everything's about what can I get by doing this. I'm honest with you. You can get whatever you want, but what you're going to get from this is wholeness, feeling joy, feeling peace, if that is something that people really would like to have, right? What can I get? How can this motivate me? How can I become a business person with this? There are lots of spiritual teachers out there that teach you that stuff. That's not me. Shoot, once you get yourself together, once you feel whole, beyond the sky is the limit. We work on that once we get there with the Ak, the shining, right? Then you can make your plans. But people don't come into this work with me because they want to start a spiritual business. They come into this work with me because they want to reclaim their divinity, their divine self, their whole self, their higher self. And it's not religion. This is just, I need a new way to see me because none of this stuff is working for me. That's what got me in this door in the first place. None of this stuff is working for me. I need something that works. That's where a lot of this stuff starts. Something that works for you. So get whole. Figure out what works for you. And then go sell that. Look, figuring that out is no small thing, my friend. Becoming whole is no small thing, right? but it is a wondrous, wondrous event. So go and have a phenomenal, beautiful weekend. Walk and talk with your shadow. Okay. And I will see you here next week when we learn to fly beginning Monday at 2:30, my friends. All right. Good night. Well, not good night. You know, it's still the day. So good day. Have a phenomenal day. And I will see you here next week, my friends. You know, I really appreciate our time together. That is, oh, all my captions went bye-bye. That is the weekend wrap. And before I leave, I want to say, you know, if you like this little quick video, please like it, right? Subscribe, hit notifications so you can know what's going on. All right. And thank you, my friends. I appreciate you so much. Thank you.